We are now live. Hang on one second, guys. Let me just get everything set up right here. Perfect. Hey, playa. Welcome to another live stream here on the Josh Speaks. Today, we're going to be talking about, today, I want to share for you guys a lot of the crazy things my parents let me get away with as I was growing up. I think we all have had somewhat crazy childhoods, you guys especially. So I definitely want to hear from some of you guys and some of the things you've experienced too. I want to share some of the moments that things I've gone through that my parents kind of, let me get away with, or things that my parents just wouldn't let me do growing up. That looking back, late, now as I'm older, I can understand where they were coming from, and I don't take it to heart. But when you're young, I think what ends up happening a lot is that you end up kind of walking through life feeling like, hey, there are a lot of things you want to explore and a lot of things you want to do, and you feel like you have a good sense of control over it. But your parents may not always agree with you, right? Your parents may sometimes feel like, hey, you're just too young, you don't understand yet, you don't have enough life experience. So I definitely want to get into some of my encounters with that and things I've definitely learned over the years. So I see a bunch of people commenting on the new wall frames. When I set up OBS and do this on OBS, I'm gonna get it flipped. I'm sure you can flip it on OBS. On Google Hangouts here, you can't. That way it's not backwards for you guys. Oh, let me make sure this is muted. Oh, it's not. It's backwards for me, but it's forwards for you guys. Never mind. So you guys can see it. This is my new wall art. These are all Mr. Rogers quotes. There was an artist who designed them on Etsy that I thought they looked awesome, so I had to put them up there. I know that wall was blank for a while, and I felt like that was the best thing to kind of set up. So I'm gonna look at I'm gonna look at what some of you guys are saying over here in the chat. Wolfcraft is saying, "Senpai, notice me." I notice you, Wolfcraft. So Christopher Garcia, hey, what's up? Del Fox, what's up, dude? Joel says, nice background. Cool, man. Happy you like it. DDR Shane, I like the wall frames. Awesome, guys. Yeah, definitely. So I think this stream is going to be very interactive, and it's going to be interactive in a way where I want to share a few things, and I want you guys to share a few things as well. And plus, we're going to have open Q&A too. So if you want to talk about things going on in your life, things that you're struggling with, you can always ask questions. That's always part of this experience here. Yeah, I'm just looking at some of the comments. So one of the stories I wanted to kind of share with you guys, and some of you guys who are in high school, if you're in high school, I want you to put a smiley face emoji right now. Put a smiley face emoji if you're in high school, because this is probably something you're going to run into as you get closer and closer to graduation, to prom, to those kinds of experiences when you get older, towards the end of high school. But put a smiley face if you're in high school right now. So when I was in high school, even when I was in middle school and even elementary school, my parents always kind of instilled this idea on me that, hey, if you take a day off from school, it's going to totally mess you up. You're going to fall behind. You're going to fail your tests. You're going to fail out of school. So growing up, I always had this fear of like, oh my God, I can't take time off. I can't miss class. It's scary. So throughout elementary and junior high school, and then even into high school, I had perfect attendance, right? So perfect attendance in school doesn't mean you were there every single day. It means that you had less than, I believe, 3 absences throughout the whole year. At least that's what it was in my high school. So I had never been absent once in high school. And I remember that the night of my prom, right, I went out, and it was, I believe, a Thursday night. And Friday the next day was a school day. So, even if you went to prom, you're supposed to go to school the next day. And I remember my parents telling me, and they're like, hey, Josh, after you go to prom, even though you're staying in a hotel with your friends, you guys are all going to go to school and class tomorrow, right? And I remember thinking to myself, yes, of course I have to go to class. I don't want to get in trouble. But my friends were like, hey, come on, it's the day after prom. No one's going to be in school. It's not really going to matter. The teachers are going to be understanding of that. But I was so nervous. I was afraid my parents were going to like flip out and if they found out. So I just kind of like told my parents, okay, yeah, I'm going to be at school. And just to myself, I was like, I'm probably going to take tomorrow off. That's just what's going to happen. Prom happens. And if you guys want to know my prom story, I'm going to link it up over here, wherever it is. Where my prom experience was like, guys. But the next day comes, it's the day after prom, and it's early in the morning. It's about like 6 or 7 in the morning. And school starts like 8 something. My parents call me and they're like, hey, Josh, we're just calling to let you know that, you're going to go to school tomorrow. You're going to go to school today, right? And I remember sitting there in the bed thinking to myself, oh, man, do I lie to my parents right now? Do I tell them the truth? What do you guys think I did? I'm curious to know what you guys think I did. Do you think I lied to my parents and told them, yeah, I'm going to go to school? Or do you think I told them the truth and said, I'm going to take tomorrow off? I want to hear what you guys have to say in the comments here, and then I'll tell you guys what happened. Who believes I told my parents the truth and told them that I was gonna take the day off? And who believes I kind of told them what they wanted to hear, which was, yeah, I'm gonna go to school? I see Ray is saying the truth. Thomas is saying he lied. CJ saying I think you lied. Del Fox the truth here. So it seems like we're pretty mixed. Most people think I said the truth. Okay, most people are leaning towards the truth that I told my parents. Yeah, I'm gonna go to school the next day. What actually happened was I did lie. I told my parents, yeah, I'm gonna go to school, and then I just didn't. So um, it was a surreal experience for me because I was super nervous that my parents were gonna find out. I was like, oh my god, they're gonna find out that I didn't go to school today, and then I'm gonna get in so much trouble. But I used that day. I just hung out with my friends. I think we went to the beach that day. It was a fun day. When I got home, I remember I got home at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And my parents asked me, they're like, did you go to school today? And I was like, yeah, I went to school. And they knew like right off the bat that I wasn't telling the truth. Now, like I said, my parents had it kind of instilled in me throughout the years. No, you have to go to school. You can't take time off. You can't take days off. You're going to be behind on school. But they kind of knew that I wasn't telling the truth there. And they kind of just were like, okay, they didn't push it. They kind of expected me to kind of not go about that. But yeah, so Thomas is asking Josh, what about your perfect attendance? Yeah, so the way my high school worked was like if you had less than 3 days of absence throughout the entire year, then that was considered perfect attendance. So technically, I didn't have real perfect attendance, but I did get an award for it. I don't know, maybe I have it there. I have it somewhere for you guys, like my perfect attendance awards. Maybe one day I'll show that to you guys. But yeah, so that was something that I think my parents were kind of cool about, that they weren't, like too stressed out, too angry about. They kind of knew that, hey, it's the day after prom, whatever. I'm not gonna. I played hooky. This was the one and only time I played hooky. And all throughout the rest of my high school years, I was just terrified. I was like, I'm not gonna, like there was like senior cut days and all these things, and I was that kid with like 4 other kids that was always in class on like senior cut day, So that was kind of something that I think my parents were cool about, that they let me kind of get away with. They didn't, get upset with me about it. I want to know, guys, in your case, would that be something that your parents would be cool with? If you told your parents, hey, listen, it's the day after prom, I'm going to kind of hang out with my friends and not go to school, would your parents be cool with that? I want to see what you guys have to say in the comments here. Thomas said I didn't have perfect attendance because I had to go to my granddad's funeral. I'm sorry to hear that, Thomas. That's not easy to have to deal with a funeral. Unknown is saying, wow, Josh, you sure are a cheeky one. A little bit. I mean, I think overall I was a pretty good student. I was a pretty good, I didn't get into too much trouble. That's the key, I think. I didn't get into too much trouble. But there were times that my parents kind of, like wouldn't let me get away with things. And then there were times where they actually kind of were there, because being a young kid at the time, it's like when I was, in my high school, middle school days, it's like I thought, nothing. I'm never going to run into problems. There's never going to be any issues with things. So I'll tell you guys another fun story. But let me see. So Neon Gamer says, no, my parents would flip out. Gamerski says they would hang me from the top hung with a belt. Miss Danny Tiger says my mom would be nice and let me skip. Orbit says I don't know if my parents would be cool with that much. Ian says whenever Star Wars comes out, my parents let me skip to go see it. That's cool. And here's the thing too. I'm not advocating for skipping class or anything like that. I don't think you should. But I do think that there are moments where you can make a better decision for yourself, whether it makes sense to go to school, whether it doesn't. I think it's important to kind of tell your parents firsthand and kind of have everyone be on board, so no one's kind of like thrown for a loop in the end. So I apologize, guys, if I'm a little sweaty. I don't have air conditioning in this office area that I record and do all my stuff, so it's a little sweaty here. But the window's open. Yeah, man, Star Wars. I remember. So side note, talking about Star Wars, I remember when I saw Star Wars Episode 1 come out in theaters, and I think I had left school early to go watch it because one of my brother's friends had gotten tickets, and they got me a ticket to go with them. So I went to go see Star Wars. Like I left school at like noon or something like that to go watch it, which was really cool. But yeah, so for that good moment of my parents kind of being understanding, not kind of like getting upset with me for skipping school, there were other moments where they did get upset with me for doing things that happened in school that I kind of was a bit of a problem kid sometimes. So here's an example of one. So So here's what happened to me when I was in middle school, right? I used to take the bus to go to school and to come home, and I had a friend on the bus, and my friend was a bit of a troublemaker, a bit of a prankster. He liked to like tease other kids on the bus, and they teased him back, and we would throw like paper, we'd crumble up our like loose leaf paper and throw it over the seats, and then kids would throw their paper back, and it was a paper war that we would have. So one time we're leaving school, and my friend's like, "Oh, let's moon everyone as the bus is driving off." So I'm thinking, yeah, this is gonna be fun. We're gonna moon everyone. So he pulls his pants down, puts his butt against the window, and starts mooning everyone. Now he's doing this as the bus is kind of leaving where all the traffic is, all the cars are, people are getting picked up from school, other buses are leaving. So our bus drives about 10 feet and then stops because there are other cars and buses in the way. And his idea was, hey, I'm going to moon as we're driving away, but that's not exactly what happened. We stopped 10 feet from where we were, and it just so happens that the dean was standing right outside, turns around and sees his butt cheeks pressed against the glass. And I remember I was getting ready to pull my pants on to moon everyone too, and I was like, uh-oh. So I quickly pulled my pants back up, sat down, and pretended like nothing happened. All of a sudden, there's a knock on the door of the bus. And the dean comes over, and the dean tells the bus driver, hey, which one of these kids over here is the one who pressed his butt against the window? And he's walking through, and he's looking, and I'm like, oh my god, he's gonna find out we did it. And he turns to me, and he asks me, did you do it? And I'm like, oh, I don't know who did it. I don't know what went on. Trying to save face. And then he turns, and he's like, to my friend, he's like, it was you. And my friend eventually admits to it so that he wouldn't get in like more serious trouble. And I remember thinking to myself, oh my God, my parents are going to kill me. They're going to kill me for being associated with this whole scenario. And of course, he takes me and my friend because I was kind of in the window, like flipping people off, doing stupid stuff while he was mooning. And he takes us both off the bus. He calls both of our parents. And I'm thinking, oh my God, my parents are going to kill me when I get home. So sure enough, when I get home, I'm telling myself like, okay, I got my story straight. I'm going to tell them that I wasn't doing anything. I was even telling him to stop. I was just sitting there like a good little kid with my hands folded, waiting to go home. And my parents knew. They knew right off the bat. They're like, you're lucky you didn't get caught because I can guarantee that you were going to do it too. And I was like, no, I would never do something like that. I got in so much trouble that day. And not even because I did, not because I mooned anyone, but because I was part of it and I was involved in it, and I could have gotten more serious trouble as well. So my parents kind of just let me have it. They didn't see that as a practical joke at all. They saw it as something a little bit more serious. And I think they grounded me or something like that. I don't remember. I just remember there were times where they did ground me. They took away like my N64 and I couldn't play for days. Or they took away my Game Boy Color. I couldn't play for days. But that was the some of the things that I got in trouble for. So I'm curious with you guys. Have you ever tried to pull a practical joke or a prank and you got in a lot of trouble for it? Have your parents ever kind of like just totally like took things away from you, took away video game systems, took away your phone or anything that you would have just because you did something that you thought was a joke and ended up being a little bit more serious in their eyes? I'm curious to know what you guys are experiencing. Let me read through some of your comments here. Frost Gamer says, my mom tells me all this stuff, how to skip and whatever. I don't skip often, but when I need a day off from class, I do. And she gets mad when I decide to do what she taught me. Yeah. So sometimes I think parents want to teach you how to do it, but they want you to use it wisely, not like just whenever you want. And wisely might be on days that you're feeling sick or days that it's a big monumental thing of some sort, but not just days where you just don't want to go to school. Then parents might feel like, hey, you're abusing the things I taught you. Packy Miss says, what is the time in your country? Right now it's 5:17 p.m. in the evening. What time is it in your country? Hailstorm says, Josh, if I could have your help, that would be great. How would I text my crush if he doesn't know I have his number? That's an interesting question, Hailstorm. So if you want to text your crush and you have their number, but they don't know that you have the number, I don't think the first thing you should do is to send them a text message, because when they get that message, they're going to have no clue that it's from you. And then when you say, oh, it's me, they're going to think to themselves, how did this person get my number? Why do they have my number? And they're going to feel weird about it. So the best thing to do is, even if you have their phone number, you still want to make it seem like you're getting their number from them. So for example, use that as the reason, use like the fact that you have the number, use that as the motivation you need to approach your crush and to say, hey, you seem like a pretty cool person. Can I get your number so we can hang out sometime? So we can go watch a movie together, so I can get a group of people together and we can all go hang out. Come up with a reason to get their number. And even if you already have it, pretend like you don't, just so you can get their number, and then you can text them, because it's important for them to know that they actually gave it to you, because once they've given it to you, then they're expecting you to contact them. But if you're just going to contact them out of the blue, especially if you have their phone number, it might seem kind of weird. It's a little different if you message them on, let's say, Instagram or Snapchat or something like that, because those social media platforms, you can search for people, you can find them. But a phone number is a little bit more private and personal, so you don't want to just like kind of like text them out of the bat, because they might be a little weirded out by it. So Unknown says, would anyone else go with their friends to the school restroom and wet a ball of TP and throw it on the ceiling? Yeah, I mean, I used to know kids who did that too. Like, just like real troublemakers in school, man. They would do things like that. They would clog the toilets and stuff. School was not an easygoing place, man. Like, it was a war zone for a lot of people. Should I pull the wrong number text? I don't think you should pull the wrong number text thing, because it might be difficult to recover from that. ASAP Chubb said, hey Josh, big fan of your videos. I need your help on how to deal with bullying because I'm overweight. I'm sorry to hear that, man. It's like when people bully people over things like their weight or their skin color or the way that they speak or the way that they look or their height or any of these random characteristics, it's like, it's such a weak thing to attack someone for. Like, why are you attacking that thing? That's part of who they are, you know? So it's like when people bully other people, they're always doing it as a way to deflect from looking at themselves, right? So if a person's going to, let's say, make fun of someone else's weight, then that means they don't feel comfortable with themselves enough to be around someone that's different from them, right? Like, think about it like this. If a person is happy and secure with who they are, would they ever have a reason to make fun of someone else? There'd be no reason to make fun of someone else. The only people who choose to make fun of other people are those who don't feel satisfied or secure with who they are. So whenever someone comes to you and they bully you and make fun of your weight or call you a name or say something of that nature, the best thing to do is to first try your best to remember that. Remember that this person doesn't know how to interact with someone that's different from them. They don't know. They don't have those skills. And second, remember that their words are just words, right? They can say anything that they want. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It doesn't mean that any of it's true. It's just them spouting whatever they are thinking, whatever they're feeling. And it doesn't mean you have to accept those feelings. You can just kind of recognize that, hey, that's how you feel. That's not how I feel. And then we're not going to connect on that. So I'm not saying it's easy to kind of push away bullies. It can be incredibly difficult. But I think that changing your perspective on how you see what they're saying is the best way to kind of handle that situation. Let me look through some of these. I got more fun. I'm curious, guys. I want to hear some of your stories as well. What are some of the things that like your parents have kind of like gotten angry at you guys for? Things that you've done that you're like, oh, it was just a joke, but your parents were like, not gonna happen. I want to hear some of your guys' stories too. Let's see. Del Fox says, got a girlfriend on the first. We were wanting to see a movie together. My parents don't know we're dating. How do I tell my parents we were dating and I want to see a movie together and we can't drive, by the way? So Del Fox, definitely check out the video I put out just yesterday, which is how to talk to your parents about dating. How to convince your parents to let you start dating. I think that video will be super helpful for you. I kind of talk about the different concerns that parents have when it comes to dating and how to address those concerns in a way where they could feel like, okay, you got an understanding of what you want. We can work through this together. You're not going to do something that we're going to be upset about. And I think that's the best way to kind of approach it. So check out that video. I mean, all the videos this week are focusing on convincing your parents to kind of feel more comfortable with you doing things, with you kind of being and just existing in your own way, you know, whether it's asking your parents for a cell phone, whether it's asking your parents to start dating or anything of that nature. The best thing you can do is to try to understand where your parents are coming from and to try to communicate in a way where you both are on the same page and no one's kind of doing anything behind each other's backs or anything like that. Let's see. Gamerski says, burned down one teacher's wig and got away. Oh, boy. Yeah, I mean, let's see. Oh, we used to take deodorant in a lighter, light a lighter, put it in front of a deodorant spray, boom, flamethrower. That is incredibly dangerous, man. Like, I've known kids that have done things like that and they've accidentally set things on fire and it was a real problem. So I listen, sometimes we do things that are crazy, we do things that are stupid, but it's important to learn from those experiences and say, hey, you know what? I wasn't thinking then. I'm thinking now. Let me not make those same mistakes. That's what I would really encourage you to do. I would not play around with fire or anything of that nature. That's because you can't control it, you know? And if something happens, it can be really bad. And I remember, when I was in junior high school, there was a teacher. I had a Spanish teacher, and like all the kids would like pick on him and make fun of him and say all these things. He was an old man, and it's like looking back, it's like, why do we do that? Why do we make fun of this guy? We gave this guy so much crap, made his life so hard, just because we were being crazy at the time. And there were tons of times where it's like I'd get in trouble at school and they'd call my parents and they'd call my house and it's like I'd get in trouble at home. We've all kind of, I think, been in those situations. And part of it is the fact that we're just kind of like young and crazy, or you're just doing crazy things because your environment is crazy. Your friends are acting crazy. But I think it's really, really important to think about how your actions can affect your future and can affect your parents in some ways, right? Like, it's something I'm thinking about a lot more now as I get older. It's like, am I creating a situation where the people around me can feel safe knowing that I have things under control, or am I making everyone's life harder? It's an important question to really think about, because I think most of us don't think about those things, especially when you're in middle school, especially when you're in high school. You're not really thinking how your actions are going to affect others around you. And I think about like how my parents must have felt when I was younger. And it's like, for the most part, I think they felt like, okay, Josh is not going to do anything too crazy. He's got a good head on his shoulders. But then there were times where I just did crazy stuff and I got in trouble. You know, and then there are times where it's like I wanted to just explore and express myself in different ways. And my parents were like, nope, that's stupid. You're not going to do that. So here's an example of that. When I was growing up, right? Some of you guys know, some of you don't know that I used to backyard wrestle with my friends, right? We used to wrestle in the park. And one year I wanted to dye my hair orange, right? Like I wore like orange shorts. I wore like orange sunglasses. I had an orange jacket. So I was like, let me dye my hair orange. It's part of my character, my wrestling character. And I remember the day I was going to dye my hair orange, my dad is like, no, you can't do that. You're going to look stupid. People are going to think you're this, you're weird, you're that. And I remember thinking to myself, like, is this a point just dyeing my hair? Is that something where my parents maybe are overstepping their boundaries and just slamming down the hammer a little too hard? Or am I actually not thinking about my actions? As time went on, I realized that there's nothing wrong with dyeing your hair. If you want to dye your hair blue or purple or pink or gray or shave your head or do anything like that, it's your hair. You should be able to style it and decorate it however you want. Now, sometimes in school, they have different rules and all this weird stuff about it, but orange hair, were you trying to be Seamus, right? I should have did the orange mohawk back then. But no, I just had like my hair now, just bright orange. Like I don't even have something orange around me. Hold on. Like orange. Orange like Hobgoblin's cape orange. That's how orange it was. And unknown. Yeah, my parents let me dye my hair because they say only gay people do that. Yep, exactly. That's exactly what my dad used to say. Like, oh no, people are gonna think you're gay, this and that. And it's like, it's simply not true. I think things like earrings or dyeing your hair and all this stuff. Our parents' generation, they felt like, oh no, normal people don't do those things. But we don't live in that world anymore. It's like people do whatever they want. We're allowed to express ourselves and carry ourselves in whatever way we want to. So we need a picture. Do I have a picture? I don't know if I have a picture on hand. Tell you what, I'm gonna look for a picture. I'm gonna post it on my Instagram stories afterwards so you guys can see it. So if you're not following me over on Instagram, go follow me over on Instagram. I'm going to put it up in my stories there. For those of you guys that don't know, obviously it's the Josh Speaks. I'm the Josh Speaks on everything, Instagram and Snapchat and everything. And I've been doing a lot on Instagram TV. So if you are following me on Instagram, go check out my Instagram TV posts as well. But yeah, I'm going to post it over on Instagram, me with my orange hair. Let's Let's see. Soda Pop says, I bleached my hair blonde and my parents were okay with it, and I'm not gay. People think that they're just stereotypes. Exactly. I mean, look, it's like you can dye your hair and be straight. You can dye your hair and be gay. Anyone can dye their hair. Dyeing your hair is not really anything weird. But I think to my dad, who was a little bit more traditional, maybe came from a little bit more traditional background, he was worried. He's like, oh no, you can't do that. It's going to look weird, this and that. But I did it anyway. I did it 2 years in a row, actually, for wrestling. So I had my orange hair, my orange sunglasses, all that stuff. It's a lot of fun. But so that was something that I kind of came to like butting heads with my dad, especially at the time. And I'm curious for you guys. Have you guys ever had any experiences like that where you wanted to do something? You wanted to change your physical appearance. You wanted to dress differently. You wanted to, I don't know, listen to certain kinds of music, put certain things on your walls, anything like that. Where you wanted to express yourself and your parents were like so gung-ho against it. I know some of you guys have already said like your experience and stuff. I'm curious now. I want to read some more of them. What have your experiences been like with your parents kind of like being supportive of your creative decisions or being against it? You know, I want to know what you guys have to say. So Mr. Smart One says, I was going to do the exact same thing. I was going to be blue, but they said it would damage it. Yeah. So coloring your hair can damage it because what ends up happening is you end up bleaching your hair, right? When you bleach the hair, you kind of damage the hair. It kind of kills the, I don't know, flowiness of the hair. And then when you dye it, you just put the dye on top of it. So if you're going to do it once or twice or so often, it's okay, but your hair grows back, right? So it's like if you're constantly doing it over and over and over, you might damage the roots. When you're doing once, every so often, once every year or something like that, it won't really do much to you. DDR Shane's, I wanted to put gaming posters on my wall, but my parents said no. Yeah, sometimes parents just don't want you to put stuff on your walls even, right? There's like such a strictness and level of control where it's like, hey, come on, like, can't I just kind of put up things I like and express myself? You know, different parents have different rules and it can be difficult to deal with, the different rules that you encounter. But I think the best thing really is when you run into those type of situations, you have to recognize what are healthy boundaries and what are super over restrictive boundaries, right? So a healthy boundary might be something like your parents don't want you to stay up past 10 p.m. or something like that, 11 p.m. Because they get worried if you're out late. They're afraid that you're going to have to travel home late. So they want you to always be home by 10 p.m. To me, that's a healthy boundary because there's a fair reason for that, right? They're concerned with your safety. What if something happens? What if you get in trouble? What if, anything? An overly strict boundary might be something like, hey, I want to get an earring. Hey, I want to decorate my walls with something. Hey, I want to, wear these kinds of t-shirts, not like shirts with curses, but like shirts with whatever, and your parents like, no, that's stupid. No, people are going to think you're weird. Oh, people are going to make fun of you. That might be an over restrictive boundary because it's the parents kind of projecting on you, right? They're telling you what they feel rather than understanding what you feel. And sometimes that's the relationship that we have with our parents. They're constantly telling us what they feel rather than asking us, rather than learning about how we feel. So I know for a lot of you guys, you might be in those type of situations where you feel like your parents don't really listen to you all the time. And it could be stressful. It could be tough. It's not easy. It's not easy to deal with because, for the most part, we all want to be heard and we all want to be understood. And when our parent kind of comes down on us and they're like, you can't do this, you can't do that, and there's no conversation, you can feel like your voice is ignored, like you're not paid attention to, like you don't matter. And it's difficult to be in that position. I know because I've been in that position too, guys. So you're not alone there. Gamerski says, can I have a tattoo and donate blood at the same time? I don't think so. I don't think you can donate blood like 6 months within you getting a tattoo or something. Unknown says, my mom is Mexican, so I don't know what is about dyeing hair that makes you gay. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think it's like anything that's non-traditional, especially from traditional parents. Parents sometimes come from traditional cultures where they also grew up with heavy restrictions on what they could and couldn't do. So it's like it's ingrained in them, and they kind of just pass it along to their kids, which is annoying and difficult to deal with for you, but it's what ends up happening. And it does take time to kind of work beyond those restrictions and to feel comfortable with who you are. Um, Galactrus said, I also had to convince my parents to let me watch whatever I want, and my parents still won't let me play GTA 5 because it's apparently degrading to women and too violent. Yeah, and this is another challenging one too, where parents make the call as to what video games you could play or movies you can watch. And it's hard because you do live under their household. You know, you're under their house, you're under their rules. And it's difficult to kind of like say, well, just let me watch it, let me do this. um, it's not always easy. The best way to go about it is to have a conversation with them. Like Galactus said, they had to convince their parents to let them watch whatever. It is a process. It's not as simple as like I'm going to do this and that's that. Ian Hines says, how to convince parents to let you join the military instead of college? That's a good question, Ian. I think if you want to join the military versus being in college, it might be important to look into what the military can offer that is supplemental to college, right? So the military, along with the infantry part of it, and maybe like traveling overseas and things like that, there are a lot of components with the military, with the army, with a lot of these units with the military essentially that do offer some kind of computer training or life skills or college credits. So the military might be an alternative for college if you can kind of look in and find out, okay, if I spend the next 2 to 4 years in the military, how will I still get an education or the skills that I need that I wouldn't that I like that essentially how will I get the skills that I need through the military that I don't need to worry about by going directly to college. So it is possible to convince your parents to let you do that. If that's truly what you want to do, you want to go in the military, serve your country, then go for it, man. I think it's a much needed task, right? We need people to protect and serve. But the military also does offer those options where you can take college classes, learning computer programming, networking, all those different things. So I would look more into that and then present it to your parents. Here's another thing too, guys, because I've run into this situation tons of times where I wanted to do something, right? But I knew my parents were probably not going to be okay with it. I had to prepare research. I had to prepare my arguments. I had to prepare my reasons and my answers for any potential questions they may have to help them better understand and feel safer and more secure with what I wanted to do. Right. So, for example, if all right, Danny Tiger, I'll catch you later. So, for example, if I wanted to go somewhere with my friends, right? Let's say, oh, I want to go to this party with my friends and we're going to drive out there. Someone's going to drive with us out there and we're going to spend the night. My parents might be like, I'm not really sure about that. I don't feel comfortable with you spending the night. So I would tell them, okay, well, this is the person that would drive us. Here's their contact information. This is how we'd get home. This is how you can contact me in case anything happens. I'm going to be with this person and this person. My friends have already talked to their parents. Like with the person we're staying with has already talked to their parents. So I kind of answered all the questions that my parents would have had and kind of covered my bases. And once I was able to do that, they were way more willing to let me go out and do things. So I think you need to kind of prepare what you want to do in those type of situations as well. You need to kind of have your arguments set up for if they say, yeah, but what about this? But what about this? You know exactly what to tell them that's going to help convince them. Now, one of the mistakes a lot of us make, I think, is that we get frustrated whenever our parents start asking a lot of questions. When our parents start saying, well, why are you doing this? But why can't you do this? Or why do you have to do that? We get frustrated. We feel like, hey, like it's none of your business. You shouldn't be asking me so much. You're annoying. We run into those situations with our parents a lot. And the way to kind of work around them simply is to kind of prepare ourselves for any questions they may have. That's, I think, the best thing that you can do to help your parents get on board and to feel more on board yourself. Moving forward, you want to. So Gamerski says, once my mom found the Marshall Matters LP in my room and I had to do a drug test. That's crazy. That's pretty crazy. I mean, yeah, and that's another thing too. Parents are terrified. They're terrified of the idea that, you guys might be doing drugs or smoking or drinking and doing all these things. It's like, at the end of the day, like try to understand it, guys, from the parents' perspective here. At the end of the day, they don't really have a full open window into what you're doing. So there's always that level of fear for them. Like they just want to make sure that you're not doing anything that's going to hurt you in the future. That's their main concern. Some parents, though, are very pushy and controlling, but for the most part, parents just want to make sure you're not doing anything that's too crazy, So like getting a drug test and stuff is a little extreme, but it sounds like your mom was concerned or worried or nervous in some senses. So the best thing you can do in this situation is go along with it. I know it may feel like you don't need to. It may feel weird. It's like, why do I have to do this? But the best thing is to go along with it and then to have a conversation with her and say, look, mom, I'm not planning on doing drugs. I like Eminem's music, but he is an artist and I'm this person. We're different people. I'm not going to fall into this lifestyle or follow this route. So it's important to have that conversation with your parents. Let them know that. Let's see. Mr. Smart one says, my parents aren't strict, but all of my friends' parents are. My parents aren't strict, but all my friends' parents are. So whenever they see I can do anything and go anywhere, they start getting kind of jealous. Yeah, I totally understand that, man. I totally understand where you're coming from on that, because sometimes it's like there's always like one friend that like they can do whatever they want, and like if you have that friend, it's like, why can that person get away with it? I can't do anything. Like, oh, their parents let them stay out late. Oh, their parents bought them this Xbox or PlayStation or something like that. Why can't my parents do that for me? It's important to remember that every family, every household has their own rules, right? No two families are alike. No two families have the same experiences, the same upbringing. No two families live in the same exact environment or have the same income in the house or have the same access to food or travel. Not every family has a car. Not every family has a TV or a gaming system. Everyone is at different stages. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. And it's important to remember that whenever you feel or your friends feel like they need to compare themselves to you, it's important to remember that it's not always the best comparison to compare two people from two different lives, two different experiences. So if you feel like when you talk to your friends about it, they get kind of jealous with you, the best thing to do is to tell them, hey, look, our families are different. We have different ways of operating and stuff. Maybe try talking to your mom about this. Maybe try telling your mom or your dad that you want to do this. Have the conversation with them, because the only way any change is going to happen, positive change is going to happen, is if you're willing to have the conversation. A lot of people aren't, and that's where they get held back. Rave says, Josh, how much did you trust your family? So for me growing up, I think I had a lot of trust for my immediate family. I'm trying to think. So I did a video on Tuesday about privacy, right? How to ask your parents for more privacy, because link it up over here. There's a lot of parents that kind of invade their kids' privacy, right? Like they'll read your journal, they'll go on your phone, they'll do all these things. And I think the best thing you can do is if you feel like your parents or whoever in your house isn't really respecting your privacy, the best thing you can do is to sit down with them one-on-one and talk to them, right? So for me, I didn't have a lot of moments where I felt like my family members were invading my privacy. So there was no need for me to question the trust that was there. Like I had my stuff and it kind of stayed to itself. If my parents wanted to look at something, they would ask me, they would talk to me about it. So I never felt like they kind of betrayed my trust and went behind my back. Now, I'm curious to know what your situation. Oh, where'd the question go? Rave, I'm curious to know what your situation is like. Do you feel like your parents kind of you don't trust your family or they don't trust you? Do you feel like there's kind of a bit of tension or people kind of go behind each other's backs like that? I'm curious to know what your experience is like, man. Gamerski says, Frost, my mom found my white bandana and thought I joined the Aryan Brotherhood. Yeah, that's just, that's a scary thought. And look, here's the thing too. It's like sometimes with parents, they'll discover things in your room, right? They might find a bandana. They might find a watch that doesn't belong to you and think you stole it. They might find sneakers that they thought you stole from the store. Like sometimes when parents discover things that they don't really know the origin of, their mind goes to like the furthest place in the planet and they think the worst possible things. And that's a kind of normal reaction for a parent to have. Some parents are more relaxed and they say, hey, look, there's an explanation. But some parents are super nervous. They, like I said, if you guys are going to take anything away from this stream, it's really to remember that your parents' main concern is to make sure that you're safe and things are okay, that you're not on a path that's going to be totally destructive. So sometimes parents do that in a very overbearing way, but at the end of the day, they're really trying to come from a place of being understanding. Like that's what they want. They want to make sure that you're safe and things are okay. Stay Fast, she says, I don't trust my degenerate family. Yep. And then you have situations like that where family members fail, right? They don't hold up their family end of the bargain. They're not trustworthy. They're mean. They're selfish. You do run into situations like that, guys. It can happen, and it does happen frequently. Um, let's see. Looking through some of your comments. Josh, what's your opinion on my bandana question? Yeah, so, and then Frost said, I told my mom about bandanas, though. She asked me every day, am I in a gang? I'm a student athlete. I'm not in a gang. Yeah, I mean, so one thing you might want to do, Frost, is to help assure her that that's what it is. If you see other students that are part of that are student athletes with bandanas, take pictures with them. Take pictures of them with with them knowing. Don't be like creeper and like creep shots. But take pictures with them. Everyone has their bandanas, and then show those to your mom and say, look, we all wear bandanas. It's what we do. It's part of being an athlete. It has nothing to do with the gang. Because when you do that, you're giving her context. You're letting her see that, okay, that's why they have the bandanas. He's not the only one doing it. He's not part of a gang. There's a reason behind it, and I can feel comfortable with that. So I would try doing that. And that goes for anyone that your parents discover something and they're like, where did this come from? Where did that come from? You know, I'll tell you guys another example too. So one of my friends had still has a pretty overbearing mother, right? So one day I went over his house and I brought a video game, right? This was back in the GameCube game days where I was playing WWE Day of Reckoning 2 or WWE Day of Reckoning, I think it was the first one, maybe Day of Reckoning. I brought the game over to his house. We were playing in his room, and then I was going to head home. So I took the game, pack it up, put it on the kitchen table, and I'm putting my shoes on. And his mom comes over, and his mom's like, oh, you guys were playing the video game? I'm like, oh, yeah, I brought it over and stuff. We always played at my house, And his mom's like, oh, okay. Is that your video game, or are you taking it from my son? I'm like, oh, no, I brought it. So, it's my game. I brought it. We always play it at my house. So, and she's like, uh-huh. Hold on. And then she went to the room where my friend still was, and she whispered, but I heard her, and she's like, is he taking your video game? I don't want you lending out your video games. If that belongs to you, I don't want him taking it. And I remember hearing that and thinking, lady, I just told you. I just told you this is my game. And then he told her as well. He's like, yeah, that's his game. He brings it every time. So his mom came over, and his mom was like, oh, okay, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure, and it's like super overbearing, a little too much there. So you run into situations where people do have overbearing parents like that. And sometimes parents just aren't trustworthy and they're trying to look out for you. But it's stuff that happens sometimes. It's not always the best or easiest situation, but it happens. Let's see. Rave says, Josh, what age should I, or did you tell your parents that you have a girlfriend, and what's a good age to have a girlfriend? That's a very good question, Rave. So my parents were never really too worried about me dating at any age, probably because I didn't start like looking into dating and trying to have a girlfriend until I was a sophomore in high school. That's when I had my first girlfriend. I'll link up the video over here where I talk about my first girlfriend, what it was like, how my first relationship, so you guys can get an understanding of that. But yeah, I mean, when I was in junior high school and stuff, there were girls I liked, but it didn't really go anywhere. I didn't know what to do, how to talk to them. But it wasn't until I was in high school. And at that point, my parents, I told them like, oh, there's this girl that I like. And they told me, they're like, oh, look, if you like her, and you want to bring her over one day, introduce her to us so we can get to know her too. So when my parents told me that, I felt a lot more comfortable with the idea of sharing information with them. I know for a lot of you guys too, you might be a little worried or curious as to how your parents are going to react. If you tell them, oh, I like someone, or I have a girlfriend, or I want to ask someone out, you might feel like they may laugh it off. They may say like, those feelings don't count. You're just so young. You don't understand love. So I know some of you guys may be fearful of those things, but the best thing you can do is to talk to your parents about it, is to see where they're coming from and let them know what you want. What is it that you're desiring? Like, do you want to be in a relationship? And if you do, then let them know about that, because if you let them know early on, it avoids problems that may come later on afterwards, because you don't want to be sneaking around, hiding, pretending like you're not in a relationship from them. It can only backfire. It can only situation. Let's see. Unknown said, so I asked this girl out in 7th grade. I didn't even know her in real life. I know it was stupid, but recently during 9th grade, she started looking at me like she would be checking me out. What should I do? So Unknown, in that situation, like you liked her in the 7th grade and time has passed. It's 9th grade now. Things are different. You've had 2 years of life experience under your belt. You're you're in the 9th grade, man. Like that's a whole different ball game than the 7th grade. And I think now it's like, you have every opportunity, and you should just go for it, man. Talk to her. Let her know what your feelings are. Get to know her better. Ask her to hang out one day. I don't see any reason why you shouldn't. I think you should totally go for it. See, Keith VW says, my family gets over 80 people together for 1 week, even though we see each other all the time. At the beach, it's chaos. I love it. Yeah, man. Big family gatherings are crazy sometimes. They can be so much fun to go to. Just seeing people, cousins and nephews and uncles and all these people, it's like just seeing family members can sometimes just be fun, right? It's fun to be around people that you know and you're familiar with. Let's see. Frost Gamer says, my mom also seems so curious in intimate life. Like she was always asked if I lost my virginity, how am I supposed to respond because I've lost mine a while ago. That's an interesting thing. So sharing that information with your parents, that can be kind of difficult, especially sharing with your mom because it's kind of weird. I get where you're coming from on that. It's like not everyone wants to tell their mom, hey, mom, I had sex already. I mean, it's tough. It really depends on the type of relationship you have with your mom. I don't think there's a one size fits all to it. I think depending on the type of relationship, if you're close with your mom, if you share other details about your life with your mom, then maybe telling her is okay. But if she keeps asking and you feel comfortable sharing that information, I would say go for it. I don't think there's any reason to hide it. No reason to hide that you lost your virginity, but everyone has a different experience and a different point in their lives where it makes sense for them to share that information. So it really depends on when you feel ready to share that. Just looking through some of this. Yeah, I mean, guys, like I was saying, it's like for me, there were moments where my parents were kind of, I would say, hard asses on me. But looking back on it, I think that they did it more so with just genuine care and concern for me, Like there were times, I remember one time me and my friends were going out to a party, right? And it was this like wild, crazy party that was deep, deep, far away from where we are. Deep. I'm sorry. I read Thomas Turner's "Come Home from School." Hey, lost my virginity 2 years ago. Hey. So we're going to this party, and I told my dad, it's like, oh, Dad, can you drop us off there, and then we'll figure out a way home? And he's like, what do you mean you're gonna figure out your way home? Like, I'm driving you. It's like an hour out from where we are, and how are you gonna find your way home like late at night like that? So we weren't thinking about the end of the night. We were only thinking about the beginning of the night. So, I told my dad, yeah, no, we'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. So, okay, he drops us off and then he leaves. And then, what's it called? We're at this party, we're hanging out, and people are like, there are lots of people that we don't know, and people are getting kind of crazy and drunk and a little wild. And all of a sudden, the police show up, right? Because I guess noise complaint or anything like that. Police show up and the whole house gets evacuated. Like, all right, everyone has to go home. And we're sitting there at like 2 a.m, 3 a.m. We're like, okay, what do we do? We walk outside the building, and what do we see? My dad had parked across the street and just hung out in the car, took a nap, hung out in the car. So we go over, we knock on the glass. He wakes up. He's like, oh, okay. I was just going to stay here in case you guys needed to call me to come pick you up. So he went in the car and drove us home. So we were lucky enough to be in a situation like that where, he was looking out for us. And at the time, we just thought we were maybe 16 years old, and we thought, we got it all under control. But truth of the matter is that he was there for us, and that's an important thing too. Sometimes our parents come out for us and show their support in ways that we don't even expect. So it's something I really want you guys to think about. I know some of you guys have really tough times with your family. Some family members are just so incredibly difficult. But if you want to have a better relationship with your parents or with your family members, the best thing you can really do is to take the time to get to know them first off, and to talk to them, to share your own experiences with them. The same thing I say with talking to your crush and getting to know your crush, you should do the same with your family members. Talk to them. Like we look at our parents sometimes as though they're our parents, just like we look at like a teacher. A teacher doesn't have their own life. They're just a teacher. But the truth is, these are people too. Your parents are people too. And they have their own experiences and their own thoughts and their own lives. So I see a lot of people guessing my age. I think you guys will be quite surprised when I tell you how old I am. But I'm curious. All right, everyone, I want you to guess how old I am in the chat right now. I see a bunch of people. Unknown says 23. Frost Gamer 23, 24, maybe 25. I'll give you guys a minute here or so just to guess how old I am. But yeah, and that's the key piece here. It's really just letting your parents know what's going on in your life and what your experience is, because otherwise, you're just going to get older and you're going to start to drift apart. And when you start to drift apart, it can be incredibly difficult to repair that. I know lots of people that they don't really talk to their family members anymore. They don't talk to their parents anymore, simply because they didn't really invest the time in getting to know them and building better relationships with them. So a lot of people guessing 23, 25, 30, 28, 22, 29, 22, 32, 30, 31. So I am 30 years old, guys. If you go to the website famousbirthdays.com, I'm on that page and they have my birthday on there, a little information about me. So check out famousbirthdays.com if you want to. If you don't believe me that I'm 30, it'll say it on there. But yeah. So another thing I want to share with you guys, I mentioned earlier, go follow me on Instagram. I'm going to post something on my stories there for you guys. But after every live stream, I always do a Instagram live hangout. So holy hell, you look young. Hey, Arby, what's up? What's your secret? I drink a lot of water. I eat lots of fruits and vegetables. And I try to meditate and relax. You look hella old. Yeah, some people think I look a lot older. Look at these bags. It all depends. I don't know. But anyway, so guys, I do an Instagram live stream over here. And what's cool about the Instagram live streams is that I bring you guys on and we have a chat right there. We do face-to-face chats, which are so much fun. They're really cool. And what I think I'm going to start doing is incorporating those into my Instagram TV stuff. So, so sweaty here. Definitely check that out. Check out my Instagram. My Instagram's the Josh Speaks. Follow me over there. After this live stream, I'm doing an Instagram after party. So all the cool people come. It's a smaller group. We're more interactive, more fun there. So join the Instagram after party, guys. It'll be a lot of fun. But yeah, I want to hear, just like everyone right now in the chat, I want you to share how you really, truly feel about your parents. How you truly feel. Yes, they bug you. Yes, they annoy you. But how do you really feel about them? Do you care about them? Do you love them? Do you respect them? Do you honor them? Do you hate them? Share your honest feelings right now in the chat, just to kind of, we got about five more minutes on here. Just to kind of really just put it out there, guys. I think it's important. This whole week, all the videos I'm making are really focusing on building better connections with your parents, convincing them, talking to them, just really building a better working relationship with them. And it's something I definitely want to do. I want to build a better relationship now with my mom, talk to her more, be more involved in her life. I want her to be more involved in my life. And it's something that it took me years to really get to that point. And it's something I really want to drive home now that you guys are all younger. You guys are in middle school and high school. Some of you are in college. And it's important to really think about that. So I just wanted to share that. I wanted to put it out there. I thought it was important. But let's see. Gamerski says, I feel they are worried, but that's all right. I love them. Yeah, that's cool, man. Frost Gamer says, my dad's dead. My mom is super protective for no reason. She's also mean and extremely a pain in the ass. Like, I love her, but she stresses me the hell out, honestly. I hear you on that, man. Some parents just a little too much. You love them, you care about them, but they're a little stressful. I get where you're coming from. LeVar says, I'm not really close to my parents, but I still care about them. Yep, I hear you on that, LeVar. If building a better relationship is something that you want to do as you get older, start by learning more about them. I think that's the key. Really just talking to them, learning more about them. That's really where the magic happens. Galactra said, I love my parents. We frequently argue, but we're close. And yes, sometimes I can get upset with them and be mad at them, but they always support me and they're great people. That's awesome, Galactras. I think that's most people, right? Like we butt heads with our family members. We fight with them. They annoy us to no end, but we care about them. And that's what really matters at the end of the day, knowing that they'll have our backs and we'll have their backs if things really got, to a crazy point. Corey says, I care about them, but sometimes they're really rough. Like shout at me for no actual reason. I get really annoyed. I hear you on that, Corey. Some parents just, they don't know how to communicate properly. And it may just be that's how they grew up. They didn't grow up observing and being around people that communicate. It can be difficult to deal with. I hope that the videos from this week can help you kind of figure out how to manage those relationships with them better. Robert says, at what age did you learn how to drive? I'm turning 15 in 5 days, and I really want to learn how to drive this year and get my permit. So I did a video on driving. I shared my story. I don't know if I have any more cards left, but if anything, I'll link it up here or put it in the description down below for this video and tell you guys all about my experience when I learned how to drive. Frost Gamer says you should do videos on mental health soon. So I have a video actually coming out tomorrow about mental health. It's how to talk to your parents about your state of mental health. What you're feeling, what you're experiencing, how to ask your parents to see a therapist or a school counselor, how to deal with your mental health issues if your parents don't get it or they don't understand or they think it's nothing serious. So that's what I'm going to kind of cover in tomorrow's video. But I definitely want to dive more into mental health topics. Let's see. You can annoy them when you ask questions. Did you ever have a pet, Josh? Yes, I've had tons of pets over the years. Had a bunch of dogs. I've had hamsters. Let's see. Alondra Cruz says, I love my parents, even though they push me to be my best, but it's for my own good. Yep, Alondra. I think that's the truth. I think that parents can be pushy and difficult sometimes, but ultimately they want you to succeed. They want you to kind of do better. So that's an important thing to remember. Let's see. Stay Fascist says they've been emotionally and physically abusing me for years. They can piss off. Yeah, look, and in that case too, some parents don't. Some parents don't have the child or your best interest at heart. And the best thing in those situations is that maybe it does make sense to separate from your family and to kind of do your own thing. You may want to see a school counselor. You may want to see a therapist. A resource that I share in tomorrow's video and I've shared in the past is a website called BetterHelp. If you guys go to thejoshspeaks.com/betterhelp, it'll take you over to a page where you can learn more about how to work one-on-one with a counselor. You could talk to them on your phone, online. It makes it so much easier to kind of have a therapist you can work with. So if you feel like your parents are just not people you can connect with, that might be an alternative way. Let's see. Ethi says, my parents found out about my rapping and I'm kind of embarrassed. All right, hey, dude, I saw that you posted a bunch of videos and stuff. I'm Alan. I saw that you posted a bunch of videos on your channel and stuff. I think your stuff's cool. I think it may just take time for your parents to warm up to it, to get around to understanding it a little better. All right, guys, I'm gonna look through a few more here, and then I'm gonna jump over to Instagram. If you want to be part of the Instagram live stream, the Instagram after party, where all the cool people are, come on, Instagram after party. Follow me over on Instagram, The Josh Speaks. I'm gonna jump on there right after this. Bring some of you guys on too. Baba Rap says, hi, is it bad to be critical of my religious beliefs? I don't think so at all. I think we should be critical of all beliefs of all kind. And being critical doesn't mean you have to dismiss or downplay or insult. Being critical simply means to challenge, to ask questions, to learn more, to be more insightful. So I think that's a positive way you should go about it. LeVar says, my own father told me I would never go to college. That's tough, man. That's a harsh thing to say to someone. I'm sorry that you experienced that. I mean, if college is something you believe in, believe that you can do, and you believe in yourself, then look, your dad is just a hater and you got to put him aside for that, Richard Hernandez says, hey, Josh, I'm a loyal subscriber. I wanted to ask you, do you ever think on making a video on what to surround yourself in your bedroom and have normal comfort, not being depressed? Because often I do. That's an interesting question. How to create a more Zen type of environment for yourself where you feel more uplifted, more relaxed. One thing is, I have this, guys. I'll show you this. This right here is a small Zen garden. And basically it's a little rake. And on this little rake, you can rake the sand and create patterns in the rake. And having one of these little things, whenever I'm just kind of like antsy and like, I don't know what to do, having something small like this where I can just kind of create little patterns in the sand helps me take my mind off it. So there are little things that you can do to kind of help. But I would love to do a video on that. I think that would be really cool. It's a great idea. All right, guys, I'm heading over to Instagram. Thank you guys so much for being a part of this live stream. It was a lot of fun. I think we answered a lot of questions. You should do a video giving us conversation openers. I know you have a book. You mean this book? If you guys don't know about my book, I have a book called Embracing the Awkward. It's a guide for teens to succeed at school, life, and relationships. So if you're interested in getting this book, checking it out, it's like about 200 pages. I kind of talk about everything, relationships, dealing with rejection, feeling comfortable with yourself. Check that out. But yeah, I would say that. So, but Unknown says, I know you have a book, but I don't like reading or waiting too long. Yeah, I hear you, man. What I'm planning on doing, hopefully I can do an audiobook version of my book. We'll see how that goes. I had to prepare that and get that ready. But guys, all right, I'm going over on Instagram Live. Go join me over there, guys. Thank you so much for being a part of this live stream. Thank you everyone everyone that's been a part of this, that shared their own personal stories and experiences. For those of you that are struggling with your parents, I hope things get better. You can always talk to me about what's going on. I want to help you succeed. For those of you that have annoying parents but you love them anyway, that's great. That'd be awesome and helpful. Try your best to form a better relationship with them, guys, because the one thing that as you get older, you're going to look back on, look, everyone's going to die. No one's going to be around forever. So it's like, it's so important to craft relationships that you feel happy with in case anything happens. I know I'm not trying to end it on a morbid note, but I'm just saying it's like, it's crucial, guys. This is crucial to fix and repair relationships, because when someone's gone, they're gone. And the best thing you can do is to really talk to them, share with people how you feel, and to learn how they feel too. All right, guys, on that note, I will catch you over on Instagram, instagram.com/JoshSpeaks, and I'll see you guys next time. As always, love and peace. See you guys.